We're going to go all praises to
Yahweh.
The walls and apostles of great millstone, shalom to those out there doing the works of sailing faithfully, continue fighting the good fight of faith, Lord willing. We're finding that number to be delivered, but until then, we as mere servants of the Lord are going to come out and prophesy the downfall of this kingdom and the things that are transpiring as according to the prophecies have said. All right? We're not going anything above and beyond what the prophecy said. And we link anything and filter everything through the scriptures as you're supposed to do. All right? So we're going to start off with whatever you got, brother.
I got
and if you brothers got questions, answers, anything, just bring it on out. We're going to roll, let the spirit move the way it moves, and Lord willing, everything's edified.
This is 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 1. And he said, "This know also that in the last day perilous times shall come."
Right. And speaking of those perilous times, man, these are the things you should be concerned with. All right. You know, as the breaking news as of late, we've seen these two groups out there in the streets fighting one another. Right. Give me Sirach 39:1. You've seen these two groups fighting one another. And again, the elder and I were talking earlier about some of these groups. All they want to keep doing is prophesying about what Great Millstone's doing or what these other guys are doing. Don't you know there's perilous times coming? And you, being a servant of the Lord, were hired to do what? Give me Ezekiel 3:17 as well. Give me Ezekiel 3:17.
That's the one.
Yep. Give me Sirach right there, 39:1.
This is Sirach chapter 39 verse 1. "But he that giveth his mind to the Lord the Most High."
Right. When you come into this thing, you've given your mind, your spirit over to the Lord. And the Lord will then sup with you and build you up as a man of the Lord to be a man on the highways and byways to profess his words. Read.
And he's occupied in the meditation thereof.
Go ahead.
Will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient.
Seek out the wisdom. We'll seek out the wisdom of all the ancient by going into the scriptures, reading, understanding, asking the Lord to open the eyes, to open your mind up to receive these things. Go ahead.
And be occupied in prophecies.
And be occupied in prophecies. This is what you should be up to right now. You shouldn't be out there in the goddamn street fighting like you in the fucking the Thunderdome.
Yep.
You should be occupied in prophecy. You niggas brawling out there in the streets is not edifying anybody, man. You give your mind over to the Lord, he's going to put the spirit on you to be occupied in prophecies. And give me Ezekiel 3:17.
This is Ezekiel chapter 3 verse 17.
Go ahead.
It reads, "Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel."
You see what the Lord has done? He had made us watchmen unto the house of Israel. He didn't make us mixed martial artists. He didn't make us boxers. He made us watchmen unto the house of Israel. All right? You men out there should be embarrassed of the way you're carrying yourself, man. Out there fighting over a piece of land, man. The scriptures say if somebody's on your spot, kick the dust off your feet and keep it moving, man. But once again, the Lord has set up certain men to do certain things, and as it is abundantly clear that we, the men of Great Millstone, from the head apostles on down, got to come and point y'all in the right direction, man. Got to give you the right direction. Out there fighting and shit, that's not edifying. You look like a bunch of jackasses out there, man. Ben, finish off.
It says, "Therefore hear my words at my mouth and give them warning from me."
When you're occupied in prophecy, you're going to be raised up on the highways and byways or wherever your stead is and give them warning. Let them know, these people know the Lord has sent us. The Lord has sent me to come out here and to warn you about the impending dangers that are coming upon the earth. You know, and I don't know if you brothers have seen the fight between those two groups, but they're out there wilding out there. Was really out there in the streets on the fucking ground. You had about 4 or 5 piles of men on the ground holding each other in headlocks and figure 4 leg locks, whatever the case may be. You got to be occupied in prophecy, man. There's too much going down right now for any man on this planet to be concerned about these worldly matters, man. Go ahead.
Don't get us wrong, right? Sometimes things happen, right? Here's how I took it, right? The Lord Yahweh Shai, when he was with the disciples, he was training them to do something, right? He was training them because they will once be apostles. To be an apostle means to be sent out, right? And this is my humble opinion. We are a reflection of what this is. You understand? So having camps on the highways and byways, having our sign, wearing our garments, we are a reflection of or let me say it this way, we are a reflection of the Heavenly Father, right? So when they see that, they don't say, oh, that was IUIC and ISUPK. They lump all of us into it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm afraid by any means, but the point is, I don't want any of us to look bad, because we're doing the work of the Lord, and so we're all in a stead and in a position to represent Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. And this is why. Can I get a scripture? I think it's Matthew 7:21, where it says, "Saith unto me, Lord, Lord."
Yep.
Somebody grab that for me, bro. Sure. You get what you got, bro.
Right. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 3.
No, brother.
This is 2 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 3. It says, "Giving no offense in anything, that the ministry be not blamed."
Right. Yo. Read this again, bro.
That's perfect.
Read this again.
This is This is 2 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 3.
Yep.
It says, "Giving no offense in anything,
Right.
that the ministry be not
Right,
blamed."
because no matter what camp you in, man, we're all under the same ministry, whether you like it or not. We're all doing the same thing, which you should be ushering in the kingdom of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. That's what it should be about. Not who's better than this, or we do it this way, y'all do it that way, kind of thing. We're all in the same ministry. Now, I don't expect you to have the same doctrine as us, but I do expect you to carry yourself a certain way, right? Because we're all a reflection of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. So this is go real quick. What did I ask you to get?
Matthew 7:21.
Before you go there, go to Lamentations. Lamentations, the 2nd chapter, in the 15th verse.
Sure, I got it. Lamentation, the 15th chapter.
2 and 15. So the 2nd chapter, the 15th verse.
Gotcha.
I want to read this a little bit.
No problem. This is Lamentation chapter 2, verse 15.
Yep.
All that pass by clap their hands at thee.
Right.
They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, "Is this the city
Right.
that men
Right.
call the perfection?"
Is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty? Why was this being said? Anybody? Why was that being said?
Because we was conquered.
We was in a poor state. So these are the guys that you call them Israelites?
Right.
This is the guy that God chose to be the special guy? Right? So you are a reflection of the Heavenly Father's decision-making skills. Right? And I know that's a carnal way to look at it, but sometimes you got to think about it that way. When I go outside, right, and I'm acting a certain way, you know who I think about? This man right here. Now, I don't mean to pull on your chain, Elder, but my father raised me to a certain age, then this man took me the rest of the way, the things I needed to know in life to live my life. So when I behave outside in the world, I always think, okay, what would this brother think of what I'm doing right now? And sometimes you need that in the back of your mind to make you behave a certain way, to make you carry yourself as a certain way. This elder, and again, I'm not trying to choke the chicken, right? But he taught me about how to have class as a man, right? It's not being a man is not all about motherfucker. What? I'm a man, bro. I'm a man. You ain't gonna disrespect. That's not the only part of manhood. There's another part of manhood that says that you should carry yourself a certain way. One of my favorite movies is The Godfather, the first Godfather. And the reason being is there was a scene in the movie where Don Corleone and his family met with the other mob bosses and their family, and they were having a civil discourse. They had reason to be against each other, but they had civil discourse with each other because they had a certain level of class that they carried themselves with, right? And there's another scene in the movie where Don Corleone he apologizes to his son Mike. He says, "I want to apologize to you." He said, "I spent your whole life making sure that I wasn't being careless." He said, women and children can afford to be careless, but men can't, right? And so what he was speaking to was how he carried himself his whole life to make sure that everything was right at every waking moment, right? Having a certain level of class. And that's so people get mad when the apostles say things like, don't chew gum. When the apostles say things like, don't wear pants, right? When the apostles say things like, get off of social media, right? The reason why they're saying these things is because they want you to carry yourself with a certain level of class. You got to carry yourself like a man. The Lord tells us, gird yourself up like a man. And being a man is more than just being aggressive. You can be aggressive when it's merited, right? But the most that you should be doing is carrying yourself with a high level of class. Go ahead, bro.
Real quick. Proverbs 15:1. A soft answer.
Dignity. That's right. Go ahead, bro.
A soft answer turneth away wrath.
A soft answer turneth away wrath. It could be somebody. I remember one day I was walking. There's another thing that I was talking about. I used to walk at night a lot. He said, bro, you're walking around at night. There ain't nothing good out there at night. And I used to go to Crown Chicken to give me a slice of cheesecake. I'll go down there, get my cheesecake, and then walk back to the house, it was less than a quarter mile. It wasn't even that far. They're like 1 block, maybe a block and a half, 2 blocks. But I used to walk at night. He was like, yeah, bro, ain't nothing good for you at night. But you know, you get rebellious and you do it anyway. So I'm walking, and there was this group of guys, and you could see them. They was like looking around on the ground, looking for something. So naturally, when you see somebody else outside, you want to gauge what they're doing so that you know if you're safe or not. So I'm looking. You know what the dude told me? He said, you better go look over there, yo. And I was like, you know what? You're right. You're right. I'm in your business. You're right. I'm my bad. And I kept it moving. But after that, you never saw me outside late at night ever again. Never again. But my point to saying that is I answered softly. Most people be like, oh, who you talking to, yo? Them niggas that have shot me up and not thought twice about it. Not had a second thought about it. So the class that you have, hey, you right, my bad, man, ain't no disrespect. No disrespect. You look like a punk to some people, but you got out of there unscathed because of your class, right? And so that's you got to carry yourself that way. You're a reflection of all of us, and that's how I look at it. I don't want to make anybody look bad. And ultimately, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, but I don't want to make anybody that's calling themselves an Israelite bad, because we all got to walk in this truth, man. Yeah. We all got to stand in this, and you got to when you stand on it, you want to make sure that there's nothing to be ashamed about. The scriptures talk about being blameless, right? When we go to
I got Philippians 2:14 and 15. It says, do all things without murmurings and disputings, that you may be blameless and harmless, the sons of the Most High, without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation.
In the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, right? So if you are doing the same things as the crooked and perverse nation, then are you different from them? Are you separate from them? Right? Are you being Tizaiwan? No, you're acting like a monkey. Right? You have to carry yourself with a certain level of class, man. It's important. Right? When we go to restaurants, we tip. Right? So if the delivery man comes to the house, I tip. Right? I say please, I say thank you. I move out of people's way. Right? Even in my job, right, where I'm in a more authoritative position, say, if 2 people are talking, I stand there and wait. And they kind of look like, damn, like you the boss. Why are you waiting for me to finish talking? What do you need? Well, I didn't want to be rude and interrupt what you guys are talking about. Pardon me, excuse me, but here's what I need. This, and this. And, oh, okay, cool. Now they're more willing to do it because of the level of class that I carry, right?
This one from the comment board. I can't remember what brother put it up. I can't really see. This is Proverbs 15:1. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stirreth up anger.
Right, but grievous words stirreth up anger. I'm not so wrapped up in myself where I can't lose a fight for a second or an argument. All right, hey man, you're right, man. My bad. I ain't mean to, disrespect you like that. You walk away and have your moment, right? That's how I've always been able to handle myself. The raising up of this man. There's been situations where I've been in where I want the guy to, I bought a car. You understand? And there were certain things that were wrong with the car. Not that the car it wasn't a piece of shit car, but there were certain things that were wrong with the car that should have been fixed before it was sold to me, right? And so me being in a position of desperation, damn, I really need this stuff fixed. I lost my cool, and I'm yelling at the dude on the phone, and I'm looking at him, and he got this look on his face, but he didn't say anything at that moment. And so we went down, what's that, the south side there? What's that shop? Remember that shop? So we went down there and spoke to the dude. Me and my dad was on some, I know my dad. My dad, he ready to fuck the whole shop up. Turn tables over, all kinds of shit. But luckily he was with us. He said, look, bro, you selling us this car, you know this ain't this ain't dealing with this car. Look at the rotors on this thing. Look at the brakes. The navigation system don't work, right? And through his diplomacy, we were able to get through it. And they fixed all of that stuff free of charge, right? And that's from diplomacy. And so when we was on our way back home, you know, I apologized to him for losing my cool like that. He said, I don't even understand why you doing that. Why was you doing that? What was you up in arms about? And the real reason is I was trying to meet my dad's energy, because my dad was ready to go. We was going either way it was gonna get fixed, one way or the other. But I'm just happy we did it the way we did it. You understand? And that was from the diplomacy of this man, right? A soft answer. Now he was assertive. He wasn't like, oh please can you help us? He was assertive. He said, look man, you don't see this car and how it looks? This shouldn't be like that. This shouldn't be like, you know that. You're a mechanic, you know that. Right? So he was assertive in the conversation, but he carried himself with a certain level of class. I watch people calm. Correct. I watch people when they're around him. We was in a Cheesecake Factory one day, and he'll spark up a conversation with people, and I watch them when they leave. They go, wow, like that was an interesting conversation. Because when they see us, they already make a preconceived notion about who we are and what we're about, right? But when they leave us, they're like, man, that was right. And now, even me in my life, but especially him in his life, people when there's a problem and there's something going on, who's the first person they think of? I get calls from people that I haven't spoken to in years, like, yo, I'm having this issue. What do you think I should do? Right? And that comes from you're carrying yourself with that class. That's what that comes from, man. We learned that from the apostles, man. We learned that from the apostles. There's a certain let me say it this way, a mood that you're in when you're on the highways and byways, right? And you're already like in this defensive mode. So it's very easy to get like, man, you don't know what you're talking going off, man. It's very easy to do that. So when people see that on the camera, right, for those who didn't get a chance to be around the apostle, they think that that's what it is. All the time, that they're high strung. You had to run out of a heart attack if you was like that all the time. But when you get around the apostle, you start to learn, oh, you can take a day off. And I don't mean take a day off from learning and studying. That's not what I mean. But take a day off from being high strung all the time. When they move to their lives, people see them. Hey, how you doing? Shake their hand. So this is what I mean. You got to carry yourself a certain way because again, you are a spokesman for what it is we do.
Like having that ruling class mentality.
Yep.
Rules righteously.
There's a kind king.
He knows how to carry himself.
Yep. A part of when you're reading in the scriptures about Cyrus, Darius, Artaxerxes, when you're reading about those kings, they had a reputation for being fair. And this is how we were able to go back into to our land and rebuild the temple because of their fairness. Now there were certain people that were trying to hinder us from having our own land and having our temple being built, but the kings was like, hey, let's write in the documentation, you know, that the slavery's over, they can go back to their land and do their own thing because of their fairness. They had a level of class that allowed us to have our finish off.
This is Proverbs 15:2. Mm-hmm. The tongue of the wise uses the knowledge of right.
Yep.
But the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness.
Right, but the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness. And this is another thing I always say. The truth is already polarizing. To tell the truth is already an act of bravery, right? So you don't got to say nothing crazy out here or do anything crazy out here to say, yeah, I'm in the spirit. No, the truth by itself is already polarizing. When the scriptures say they stand in great boldness and in the face of such as have afflicted them, that's already the bold thing. You're already doing the bold thing by being out here standing on what it is you believe in. You understand? So you don't got to say anything crazy. You don't got to do anything crazy. You telling the truth is already insane, especially in a world like this. So you don't got to go crazy and be, you know, out there headlocking motherfuckers, punch them in the stomach. It was like a police bust. When I was watching, I was like, damn, look at these guys, man. Look at this mess, man.
Animals.
All these savages.
And you know that's what Esau, he been called thugs, savages.
Yep. Oh, y'all are the Israelites, huh? This is how y'all act? Right. This is the perfection of beauty.
Yeah, Shalaki, I don't know something good about It's Proverbs 28 and verse 26. Yep. He said, he that trust looks like make sure that was the one. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. Proverbs 28 verse 26. He that trusted in his own heart is a fool, but whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered.
Right.
Just like when we bring about when we went to the garage, right? But because the elder was being wise, everything was able to be done, and the way it's supposed to be done.
Right.
If you got any type of situation, any type of problem, like you said, elder, you don't just burst out in anger.
Yep.
You gotta be wise, as the Alpha said, be wise as a serpent.
Yep. The scriptures talk about long suffering.
Yep.
The scriptures talk about patience. Go ahead. That's all. I thought you was raising your hand.
Yeah.
Are you done?
No.
Go ahead, bro. Have at it, bro.
Proverbs 25, verse 28. He that have no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls.
Yep. So you got to be able to have self-control, self-restraint, and that's how you develop that class, man.
And another thing too, the heads of the camps or the camps at that time should have never let that go down like that. If there was somebody that was in order, who was the head of the camp or whatever, if anybody, it should have been two heads of the camps conversing back and forth. I don't know if it was over the spot being taken, what have you. But when you got the men under you, just stepping over you and bashing, and that whole melee starts, there's totally no order there. But the Lord did that for a reason, man. The Lord busted that whole shit up for a reason. He put that in place for a reason, for all eyes to see. You ain't never gonna, again, we're gonna defend ourselves. We're gonna defend ourselves, but we ain't gonna go out there initiating no bullshit. Because we move through the spirit. We say it every week. Whatever you do it spiritually. If you really got questions, reach out. But the problem is, you got men wanting to fucking strut their shit, seeing who's the bigger fucking boss over there, and all hell broke loose, man.
Spread their peacock feathers.
Right.
Spread their peacock feathers. This camp is better than that camp. Hey, man, we're not in that business. Like you said this earlier, Elder. You probably said it again earlier when we started. There's too much going on in the world for us to be set tripping. You know what set tripping is? You know what set tripping is?
Yeah, it's like territorial with
Yeah, so we look, Esau's the enemy. Esau's the number one guy. Why are we fighting each other? Esau's the number one guy. You don't got shit to say about Esau? No, you're not even run up on him. You don't got nothing to say. You don't got nothing to say about Esau, what they did to us. Come on, bro.
It amazes me, elder.
You know who Esau is?
Of course.
Who's
Right
Esau?
there.
Come on now, talk to me.
Now, first, I'm American Indian. I know exactly
come on
what
now.
happened to my people.
I don't doubt that at all, bro.
all that slavery bullshit, as far as East Atlantic slave trade, that shit never happened.
Oh, you don't believe in the transatlantic slave trade?
I don't believe. I know it didn't happen.
Oh, okay.
It's not even logical.
Okay.
How did 12.6 million slaves come over here on wooden ships during the 1600s and the 1800s?
Okay.
I mean, this is logic.
Okay.
And then you got the weak ass cracker that thinks they're gonna tell somebody, telling children too, at that they captured a whole bunch of goddamn 12.6 million people.
Yep.
They bring them over here
Yep.
to a land that they never been before.
Okay, let's go with that, right? But slavery still happened.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the other thing too.
Let me real quick, before you go too far, I just want to ask you your last name. What's your last name?
Green.
Green?
Yes.
Do you think that's a native name?
No, it's not. And I understand, I'm American Indian, so I know my
I
ancestors
believe
from here. So
100%.
I know that my ancestors.
Yep.
I'm not gonna put anybody else's. We had English is a trading language. This language that we're speaking is part of our language as well. It's part of American
so
Indian.
English is an interesting language, right?
Yes, it's trading
because it takes pieces from all kinds of
everything.
languages.
Yes, it's a
right?
trading language.
Right, but my point is, your name is Green because your people were put in slavery. That's my point. So slavery happened. We're products of it, right? Today, I just want to get a scripture real quick. Deuteronomy 28, verse 48. It says, "You're the enemy for one of all things."
Deuteronomy 28.
I
got one real quick.
yeah,
He was talking about like I'm supposed to believe that a white man gathered all these people.
Well, it happened.
So, right. So
It happened.
Deuteronomy
We
30.
ain't against you, brother.
Yeah,
We're
not
not
at all.
against you.
Not-
No,
We ain't
you know,
against you.
first and foremost, I'm straight. I'm a very intelligent person.
Nah,
I'm
I don't doubt that at all.
I'm a cancer survivor.
Okay.
No pineal germinal brain tumor.
Yeah,
so you know what the
my
pineal
son is a
is,
cancer
right?
survivor.
Yeah, exactly. Your third eye. So this shit wasn't. Yes. Yeah.
So
So that
Deuteronomy,
wasn't no accident.
Deuteronomy 32 and 30.
Yeah.
It said, "How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight,
Yep.
except their rock had sold them,
Right.
and the Lord has shut them up."
Right.
So, just to go back to your point, is that the Lord is the one. He the one that caused that to happen. See, you probably don't even understand why we went into slavery. Period.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, I do, and I do. And I'm very well versed
Yeah.
about a whole bunch of stuff.
Yep.
You know, and I know. Shout out to my brother Sarnetta, brother Polite.
Yep.
I know. I watched him. You know,
Yep.
go against you guys. You know, I respect everybody.
Yeah,
So
we like
I'm
them.
already. I'm very well aware of his points that he
Fair
made
enough.
as far as the evil Israelites.
Let me say this real quick.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people lose sight. Now the native, because my father's North American Indian as well.
Yeah,
The
American.
natives, they set sail over here on their own by themselves. The majority of the natives that came to this side of the world came on their own, under their own power. The majority of those who came in slave ships were the so-called Negroes in America today. When you read the scriptures, as the elder's going to get into, when you read the scriptures, it clearly tells you that the children of Israel will be put on ships. But the majority of the Native Americans that are in this land, that dwelled in this land first, they came on their own over here. So to a further land, but the scriptures tell you, to a further land where never mankind dwelt.
All right, so first, my ancestors, I don't know
Fair enough,
where
fair enough.
my ancestors, they were already here. So
Yes.
it's not we didn't come from anywhere. We were already here before these people.
Right.
Yes.
So-
even came over.
Fair enough.
So
But there was a point in
Was when
time.
there was nobody
according to the
living on this
scriptures,
land.
there was a point in time. The scriptures clearly tell you where never mankind dwelt.
Over here?
That was
I mean,
nobody.
if that's what you believe,
According to the
that's
scripture.
shit.
According
Well,
to the
that's what
scripture.
you believe.
Fair enough.
Then I know my ancestors because I did my genealogical research by records. I can
gotta
show you a picture
understand.
right now.
You gotta understand.
I don't have to understand because I overstand these things.
I got you.
Now
I got
once
you.
you actually do your genealogical research by records, not just letting a goddamn strange bigot tell you who you are. Then you understand that you see where you by records where these people actually, where our people derive from.
Right.
I'm a Shuni Blackfoot Indian.
I get you. I believe you.
Yeah.
I
Oh
believe
yeah, of
you.
course. I mean, you should trust me. Instead of
I
believing.
believe you.
That word is a loaded word too.
Well, no,
I do
but
study-
you're telling
I
the
do-
truth.
I
You're telling
do.
the
I
truth.
do. I do
You're
study
telling the
etymology and syntax too as well.
Yeah, but
So,
hold on.
yes,
But don't
etymology and syntax.
but don't
Yes,
allow
so-
it to engulf you.
Oh,
if I say I
that's-
believe you, it's because I believe you're telling the truth. I'm not. That's all. That's all we're saying.
But
So
again,
we're not trying to
believe
trick you
is-
at all.
No. I'm just
Okay.
letting you
The
know
records.
just for your insight.
Yeah.
To believe is to be lied to. Be and lie is in the word, and then you're leaving
That's
behind.
not- that's not-
you're
that's
leaving
not the-
behind your
that's not
common
how
sense
you
too.
do etymology.
No,
Right.
listen, listen. That's not. I'm just saying I know etymology. I'm not saying that's what etymology is.
Okay.
When you break words down, see, I can use etymology for how I want to use etymology, especially saying the word government. Govern means control.
Control.
And
And
mint
mint
means
means your mind.
mental. All
Yeah.
right. So mind control.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
this is how I use the etymology. Breaking
That's
down
not
the
the
word.
etymology of belief. though.
No. Listen.
Be
I'm-
and lie is not the etymology.
no. It's not the etymology. I'm saying
Okay.
I'm breaking down the word. See, that's the whole thing. You got to break down the word to actually understand
right, so-
what's going on.
so the-
Because
the
I'm a
difference-
linguist too. So
Yeah, I feel
you know.
So the difference between the two of us is we allow the scriptures to be the foundation of all things that we believe, right? So anytime we're saying something, we're going to always reference what the scriptures say. So when we go into the idea of how the North American Indians got here, we say that based on what the scriptures say.
Okay.
Right? So that's
And
we
that's
can go.
you. That's
so
you.
even
I would
hear me
never
out,
let
hear me out, hear me out, hear me out.
I would never let
So
anybody
even-
tell me who I am.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
So
If
even
didn't
when you
come
go
over-
into your DNA, right?
Genealogical research.
What is it?
Genealogical research.
When
by
you go
record.
when you go into your genealogical research,
Yes.
it doesn't tell you whether or not you were somewhere in another land first.
Yes, it does.
It just tells you that you
No,
have-
no, because as the U.S. Census was made in 1790.
Yep.
So yes, anybody after that who were born on this land, they're gonna tell you that yes, you were on this land. You have all the documentation saying that you're from here.
So let me ask you one question. Do you believe that the flood happened?
I don't, anything that has to do with your book, I don't trust anything.
Anything we
say in the book, because I mean, I move off of, you know, what my ancestors tell me, my elders.
Yep.
So I'm not going off of anybody else's.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
so anything we say to each other, we're going to disagree.
Well, you know, you don't know that. You don't know that. I might actually agree with some of your points.
Yeah, some of them. But
it doesn't mean that, you know, just because you say it makes it the truth.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying is.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, there's a foundation to it.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be. We might agree on certain things here and there. But what I'm saying, we'll have a foundation of what we say, because we're always going to reference the scripture.
Okay.
We're never going to say anything that's an outside reference of what the scriptures taught us about what happened with our people. So contrary to belief, you're of the tribe of Gad. You may not believe that, but you're of the tribe of Gad.
I mean, if that's what you think, I know where I'm from. I'm a Shawnee Blackfoot Indian. Right. I know who I am.
That's fair
so
enough.
You can't. I mean, my whole thing is because I don't want to. I already seen what Brother Polite did, you guys. It's
what
not.
did he do?
No, he debunked everything that was in that book. Respectfully.
He did it.
Yes, he did.
I don't agree with that.
Yes, he did.
If that's your perception, you got
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Is that why you came here?
No. I actually came here because I caught something that you heard that I was interested in.
Which one was it?
I mean, no, I was going on.
Yo, watch your back, though. Watch your back. Come on in. Just the car's coming through. Watch your back.
I honestly, I can't even remember what you said, but it caught my ear. And it was something about the Edomite. So, every time
you heard that.
the white, so I come over because I agree with you 100% with that.
Just watch your back.
I definitely do. Wholeheartedly.
Here's what I'm saying.
Wholeheartedly.
Here's what I want to say. What did Polite debunk?
Come on through. Watch your back, bro.
What was it that he debunked?
So,
about the scripture.
Well, I haven't seen, you know, the videos that he did in the
Hold on a second. Because I only asked that because you said that I already watched what Polite did to y'all. He already debunked everything y'all said in that book. So I'm just asking which part. That's all. So I can see if I agree that it was debunked. That's all.
Dang, what's your book called again?
The Bible?
No, not the Bible. The Apocrypha? The Torah. There's something. The Torah. Okay.
The Torah is a part of the Bible.
Okay. Well, there was something where they said the person who actually wrote the Bible or wrote what you had wasn't even. He had to get this translated from somebody else.
So you're not sure.
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I haven't, but I know.
So my only problem with the statement is you say that so matter of factly, but you're not sure. You don't.
I mean,
remember.
I can let you. How long are you gonna be out here?
We're gonna be out here. All
Okay, wait. So I'll let you do what you gotta do. I'll go because I'll go and refresh my memory just to come back.
Yeah, no sweat.
All right. Good. Oh,
No sweat.
Brother Hootie did the same shit. All right, good. I'm gonna take another walk around and I'm gonna definitely tell you what he did.
All right, no sweat. We'll be here.
So we're gonna continue on, but again, this is a battle of who's winning and who's losing.
Right.
It's important to have a foundation. It's important to have a foundation in all the things you believe, right? Because if like all things that you're building, right? When you're learning the information, when you're learning history, when you're learning the scriptures. I already have one. You didn't have one, and I gave somebody else. When you're building something, the first step to building is what? You got to build the basement, right? You got to build the foundation. You got to get your rebar. You got to get your cement, right? And you got to make sure that the foundation is strong.
Like you don't start from the second floor down.
Right.
You know?
The problem that I have with people like this is that there is no foundation. It's all over the place, right? And so you see, first it was matter of fact. I already saw what Polite did to y'all. He debunked all of that. And then now you call him on it. Now you ask him to be responsible for his claims. Statements. He can't do it. Okay. All right. We'll see you later. It's gonna be the same thing you did when you came here.
Let me say this, Elder, too. And a guy like that, he's truly trusting on the very same fabric that he's against. He's trusting on Esau's, census. He's trusting on Esau's, genealogy shit. Who do you think holds the records, man? Esau, the gatekeeper, the doorkeeper, the record keeper in this country.
See, you're saying you're a Blackfoot Indian, right? You think that the Blackfoots, when they were calling themselves by that name, that's what they said? No. You ask him, and when he comes back, I'm gonna ask him to say something in his native tongue. If he comes back, I don't think he's coming. If he comes back, I'm gonna ask him to say something in his native tongue. You're speaking to us in English, and people, you know what I find? That people underestimate the power of Esau. Right. The heavenly. Let's go to a couple different scriptures. Go to Romans 9:17. Sure. And then go to another scripture I was thinking before I said that. Definitely. Nope, that's another one came to mind. Let's go to Ezekiel 36. Gotcha. Let's go to Ezekiel 36. 21 first. And let's go to Job 9:24. Ezekiel 36.
Romans 9:17.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny too because he acting like Blackfoot Indian go back to, thousands of years ago.
See, the problem is, that's why I asked him about the flood. The flood is important to note.
Watch your back.
The flood is important to note because that's how the different continents were separated. At one time, all the continents were together, right? The flood happened, and then that's when there was a separation of each continent. When there was that separation, Gad didn't just happen to be on this part of the land. Right. No, they traveled here.
We had this very same conversation remember I told you? A lot of people said that the native.
Oh, yeah, when we was walking up there. Yeah.
We had the very same conversation this morning.
I've been seeing a lot of TikTok videos talking about like what he just said.
We talked about that earlier.
They about to say slavery never happened. The black man was already here.
Because they think they're this minuscule white man. Okay, yeah, I agree. I agree with that statement that Esau is minuscule. But you can't deny. You asked a really good question, but I tend not to ask them a question. I got to figure out what they believe in because your question was this. What was slavery for? Oh, I know what slavery was for. No, you don't.
Right.
No, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't have said something like this weak white man took us over. We're supposed to believe that story. Now slavery didn't happen because the white man is weak. But okay, if he was weak, then why are you calling yourself green?
But you had that was a damn good point. Because now that you know all this history, why would you continue to maintain a green last name? Would you change your name?
Right. And also too, I want to add, they have made a video, about the people in Africa, the headline, admitting that they saw, the Negro. I want to stay with the person. Yeah. We can argue history all day. We're not going to get anywhere. Right. I want to stay with the person and what they act like they know, and I'll ask them the question based on that.
Yeah. I asked him what he was trying to say. It was physically impossible to bring that many people to America.
I mean, it didn't happen it's not one boat. Nope. It's not one trip. Right. Right. Like they was on like a canoe with 12 million. No. And contrary to belief, in my personal opinion, the maritime travel was better in ancient times than it is now.
But not only that, the building and construction of vessels then was far superior to what you have now.
Right. Yeah. They think that the people in ancient times
didn't have no.
It was like they were just dumb. If you look at the
if they were dumb, they would not be able to build the pyramids.
Great point. And that's what I was getting ready to say. If you look at the architecture, even as far back as the early 1900s in America, it was better than it is today. Right. You look at the Prudential. The Prudential is nearly 100 years old. The skyscraper over there, right? The Hancock building. All of these things, these weren't built 2 years ago. Right. So the architecture, even in ancient times, when you look at Notre Dame, I'm talking about over there in Europe, all these big cathedrals that you see, their knowledge and technology was superior. Right? We don't build things like that anymore. Right? You look at that Hancock building, what is it? Just straight up. Just some beams, straight up and down. But you look at the intricacies of the cathedrals in ancient times, they're still standing to this day. Now they do facelifts, of course, where they maintain these buildings. But people weren't stupid back then. Right. They built vessels that could last. You got Noah who probably were just him and 3 other people, 4 people,
Right.
built the ark.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
His sons probably had a hand in it, right? But this is 4 people building an ark that's gonna last a flood for 40 days and 40 nights. So you mean to tell me that you can't build a vessel that can travel across the ocean?
Let me take it a step further,
You
Elder.
can make a bar of soap and float it across the water. It's gonna stay on the top of the water.
Let me take it a step further. Esau, with his sonar, understood and understands that in the mountains of Ararat, they seen the.
Oh, great
the-
point.
the-
Yeah, they saw the
great
ship.
point.
Yeah, they saw the
So
ship.
why hasn't that wood disintegrated by now?
Right.
They still see the configuration of the ark.
Great point. I asked that question because when you be using logic, I'm a logical guy. Like when you use logic with these people, they like.
But it's not logic to them.
Yeah, I know.
Because they don't believe it like how we
Yeah.
believe.
So my logic is this. Like the reason I asked him that question is because it happened.
Yeah.
But it's a reason why it happened.
Yeah, but they're not going to be able to answer.
Yeah, I know. So like when I talk to people, my logical is to basically try to paint a picture to you because like when you talk about this,
Yeah, no, trust me, bro.
Yeah.
I know why you asked the question.
Yeah.
And trust me, bro.
Yeah.
It's a great question. But he's not going to have the answer.
Yeah, I know.
He's not gonna, you tell him why slavery happened, but all those things matter.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You can say whatever you want to say about Esau. The bottom line is your last name is Green.
Yeah.
So Esau did something to you. Esau did something to you, Blackfoot.
They always want to skip over the process.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like even like when the elder said like they came over here on their own will.
Yeah.
Like first of all, well, you don't believe in the scripture, so yeah, never mind.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I said it's important to have the foundation. This is why I told him, look, anything we talk about right now, we're going to disagree on it. Because we're going to come from this.
Yeah.
And that's it. This is our filter. This is how we figure out what's true and what's not. You can't just come up to me telling me, oh, Polite debunks you. Where is Polite?
Yeah.
Where is he?
In court.
Where is he? No, I'm asking this
Well, no,
seriously.
he really is in court.
And then the second question is, my second question is,
He really in court.
what did he do for you?
Being black, he being a Hamite,
Right.
acting like a Hamite.
Right.
Yeah.
Polite don't subscribe to you being a native.
Yeah.
Polite thinks everybody came from Africa. So your logic is you were here from the beginning, but Polite will tell you that you came from Africa.
Yep.
So you don't even agree with the person that you're saying debunked us. You understand? So I call for a couple scriptures.
Romans 9:17.
Let's go to this.
Romans
Because
9:17.
Esau did something. Esau did something. If your last name is Green, if your last name is Williams, if your last name is Kennedy, if your last name is Washington, Johnson, if you Jackson,
Jones.
if you Jones, if your name is any of these, Esau did something.
Yeah.
Esau did something. You know who's in this state house up here. Ain't no Blackfoots in there. Massachusetts state flag is a Native American Indian. Why is it the Native American Indian that ruled over that state house up there? Esau did something.
Yeah, this is why you had guys who were in a stead such as Malcolm X to take that last name that was given, that slave name,
Right.
and put an
Great
X
point.
there.
Great point. Why don't you call yourself X?
Yeah.
Blackfoot X.
Yeah. Yeah. And they never
Why not?
ask. They never ask why. That's what the scriptures give us. They give us why. Because like, listen, you on like your people's on reservations right now.
Right.
It's a process that happened to that.
Right.
Why?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? See,
Well, no,
This is
why?
your land,
Yeah,
but
why?
you couldn't
Yeah.
find to a box.
Yeah.
How?
You know what I'm saying?
Why and how?
The scriptures give you why.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was he saying about the genealogy record?
Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
One of the biggest things that
Romans.
one of the biggest thing that happened with China built the biggest. They said the yacht they have now today. China built something bigger than the yacht they
Yeah.
have.
So I want to say something about genealogy, just to answer your question. When Esau conquers land, you know what one of the first things he does? He burns the city. He burns all the records.
Yeah.
Right? You got people that don't even understand the history. You got these Egyptologists, a guy like Polite, right? They'll argue that Cleopatra, she couldn't have been an Edomite. But Cleopatra came from the line of Ptolemy.
Yeah.
That was an Edomite. What she looked like doesn't matter to me. She was from the line of Ptolemy, right? So my point in that is, when you see a movie about Cleopatra in her time, right? You can't be mad that they made it a white woman, because she was a Ptolemaic.
Right.
So you can't be mad at that. Oh, because it was Egypt, they should be black. They don't even know the history of Egypt, right? So my point is this: it's not always about genealogy, because The records always get destroyed. Anytime Esau has conquered any land, that's what they do. They destroy the records. Because how do you take claim to a land if the people that were there still have records there and still have claim to the ownership? Because the point of conquering the land is so that nobody can take it from you. So you burn the records so that that people can't reclaim the land that belongs to them. Right? So you can go by genealogy, but you're doing the same thing you say we do. We go by the Bible, you say it's a white man's book, but you go by genealogy, which is white man's science.
Exactly.
So which one do you want to do?
Yep.
Pick a poison.
That's what, Elder. Yep.
Pick a poison. Yep. Right? So it's just this is why we go by what the scriptures say. Because the scriptures is a sound foundation. Right? Go
That's
ahead.
another aspect to it. It's so funny that the scriptures go against everything that he believed in. He was talking about science. He was talking about genealogy. The Bible said don't trust in that.
Right.
And the Bible was written way before he came here.
Well,
I
want to respond to what you said. You said the Bible said don't talk about genealogy. The genealogy was getting caught up in an argument about what your tribe is or what your nation is.
which he trusted.
Right. 100%. 100%. Let's keep going on this.
Romans 9:17. It says, "For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this very same purpose have I raised thee up."
Right, so the Heavenly Father raised up Pharaoh, right? When you go into Egyptian history, allow the scriptures to be the foundation of Egyptian history. Pharaoh was set up on high, right? And he was not only the ruler of Egypt, but he had power over all the known world at that time because of his well, it started with Joseph, right? Yeah. Because there were so many famines that were happening at that time. And because of Joseph, you had a surplus of food to give the people. And then when the people they didn't have any goods to sell Pharaoh for the food, they sold themselves. Yep. Right? And so Pharaoh becomes the power over all the earth, right? But the scripture is going to tell you why he made Pharaoh the power over all the earth. Go ahead.
It says, For the selfsame purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee.
That I might show my power in thee. Right? And now there's a reason why when you read the scriptures, America is synonymous with Egypt. There's a reason. Because he did the same thing with Esau. That he raised him up so that he may show his power in thee. Right? You make the number one contender and you make the whole world fear that number one contender. And then you come and take them out, and what happens? The world understands that, oh, this is the real power right here. So Esau did something. Esau did something. You know what the name of this street is?
Oh, Tremont.
This is Tremont Street. That's a guy. It's not Blackfoot Street. It's right. It's not Picachee or whatever Indian tribe it is. It's not their street. Right? You got Boylston Street, that's a guy. Washington Street, that's a guy. So they even the name, like you give you another plus. The land is has a native name. Massachusetts is a native name, but all the streets, all the cities are all Edomites. All of them. So they did something. They did something. Can somebody go to Psalm 49:11. Yep. 49:11. Yep. Got it. You got to blow up the old ones.
Right.
Got it.
What's crazy is that the scriptures is pointing out. It's pointing out like, did the Chinaman do this?
100%.
Did the African man do
100%.
this? You know what I'm saying? So it's like the scriptures is very plain, but we talking to the choir.
Here it is, right? Yep. You got a guy like Polite, right? He would say that we're Egyptian, right? That's a Greek term. Yeah. That's a Greek term. You're not even calling. And then you say you get mad at us. He might not say Egypt. He might say Kemet. Yeah. But that's a Hebrew word. Right. So what do you want? Right. What do you want? There's no foundation. So you have nothing to go back to. So you should say all these random things, and then when it comes time to sew them together, when somebody's asking you a question, it comes apart.
And they never talk about where do Egyptology come from? The small hats.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the
Amalekites.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Great point.
You know what I'm saying? So like our history is taught by them. Right. You know what I'm saying? But
right. And then instead of saying I'm a native, he kept saying I'm American.
Yeah. Black.
He kept saying I'm American.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So let's find out what Esau did, man. Let's figure out what he did.
Psalm 49 verse 11. Yep. He says that inward thought is that their houses shall continue
Right,
forever,
that their houses shall continue forever, right? Go ahead.
and their dwelling places to all generations.
Right, and their dwelling places to all generations. So their cities, their states, their countries, their continents, right? Their streets, right? Keep going.
They call their land after their own
They
name.
call their land after their own name. Look at the world today, right? He made a good point. He said that English is a trading language. Why would English be a trading language if you're trading with another nation? You should know their language. You should have an interpreter for their language. But the reason why English is the trading language because Edomites run trade.
Right.
And just like
I'm sorry.
I just say real quick, and just like what the so-called white man did to the so-called Negroes when they came over here, they gave us names. He did the same thing when he came over to the North American Indians. He gave them these names. Yeah. You're going to be this, you're going to be that. And this is how Esau kept track of who certain groups and where certain groups were. Yeah. But at the end of the day, they were all Israelites.
You had something, the term boarding school. You know where that comes from? When the Edomites came over here to conquer the Americas, they had the Gadites go to boarding school. Right? Matter of fact, Elder Apostle Ramlap just did a show on this recently. Right? They had boarding school, so what they were trying to do in boarding school was to remove all of that native talk out of you. Remove the native talk, remove the culture, remove the clothing. Matter of fact, they'll show you that when you, two things, the book in the movie, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, right? The man who wrote the book, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, his persona was the main character of the movie, right? And when he was a young kid, right? He was taken away from his tribe. His father was first got the taste of the Edomite way and said, look, I'm gonna take my kid, I'm gonna take my wife, because what would you do? If somebody's kicking your ass, right? What you gonna do? When in Rome, do as the Romans. I'm getting my ass whooped. I don't want my wife to be taken from me. I don't want my children to be taken from me. So I'm gonna bow to what they're doing and learn their way. So that kid's character, he was taken by his father to boarding school to forget about all that native talk. And then by the time Andrew Jackson got around, and Andrew Jackson was conquering all that land in the Louisiana Purchase, you know who they used as an interpreter? Him.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Made him speak English, right? Or he spoke English to him, and then he had to speak his native tongue to the natives. And that's how they took all that land. And fake promises, right? Hey, you know, we're gonna have a peace treaty. We're just gonna be here for a few minutes, and and then what happened? The scriptures tell us about all of that stuff.
He's still doing the same thing.
Right.
Next year, he said he break it.
Yep.
Yeah. If I just let me know, bro, because sometimes I'm talking a little bit too much.
But no problem. This is Psalm 83, verse 3. He says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden one. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more remembered.
That's right. Because you have to go back to the original. Yes, were your people here first? And really, I'd argue that they weren't. Because when you read the scriptures, you had the Hamites that were under Hiram that were coming over to these lands. Under the rule of King Solomon. Right? So under the rule of King Solomon, they had some Hamites and some other nations, but they would come over here and bring back goods from here back to Solomon, right? Yep. So Gad wasn't the first people here. Hiram and his people were the first people here.
Yep.
And they left proof of it by the Olmecs, right?
I got Psalm 55, verse 20, and he says, move to 21. He have put forth his hand against such as be at peace with him. He have broken his covenant. The word of his mouth was smoother than butter.
Right. So who did this? Who did this? Esau did this. The so-called white man did this. So the scriptures tell you what's going to happen, right? That you would have a man who would come and speak peaceable words with you, but war be in his heart. Take over your land, sign agreements and peace treaties with you, and then still take your land against that peace treaty. Still conquer your people against that peace treaty. Right? Now you had some folks that were rogue, right? You got some rogue people now, even today, that travel the border between Mexico and America, so-called stopping them from coming over to the Americas. They're rogue, but it's the same thing. It's an Edomite stopping a Israelite from doing what they want to do, right?
I know y'all, because I'd seen the video. I wasn't in the troop at that time. Y'all was. But I remember I seen a video a long time ago when Apostle Romulus, I think that was all of them. Remember they showed remember the small hats, they had a whole bunch of ships. Because I'm still thinking about, my bad, I'm still thinking about him saying that how can all these people come over here on the ship?
No,
remember,
fine.
but it was like a lot of small hats that had, like, remember their names was named like Lopez and all this other stuff. It was like a whole bunch of sheet of ships that came over here. Yeah. And I was just thinking,
it's really childish.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
It's a really childish argument. The purpose is it's an attempt to marginalize Edomites.
Yeah.
The Edomites did great things on this earth. The Lord said they would come back and rebuild the impoverished places, the desolate places. Yes. Right? So they did great things, man. Yep. You got it. All right now.
All right now. Easy, all right?
Salakia, let's go back. So I called for Ezekiel 36. Yep, that's the one. I get it. Esau ain't as whack as you want to believe he is.
Right.
Esau. Look, the scriptures say that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of that follow. Why would it say that? Unless Esau had control over the world, right? Well, don't minimize Edom. Edom is a bad motherfucker, man. You ever read the stories about Alexander the Great? He conquered the whole known world in the shortest period of time in history up to that point. He was a child. He was a young man.
Yep.
And through his military prowess was able to take over the whole known world. And would have took more. But he liked Edom very much. So he wanted to stay. Right? But look, man, Esau ain't no sucker. Right? Matter of fact, what did the scriptures tell you? That Jacob was a plain man and Esau was what? A man in the field. There ain't no sucker outside in the field. You hunting, climbing trees, digging ditches to hide from the animal. You ain't no sucker doing that.
Esau jumping alligator pits from with alligators.
Yeah.
Jumping in the lion's
Yeah, what's my man that died from the stingray?
Oh yeah, crocodile.
No, not crocodile. Irvin and Mike Irvin, something like that.
It was crocodile.
Whatever his name is, the crocodile hunter. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That ain't no soft dude, man. He in there. They said, "Oh, I got her." Yeah. They open the alligator mouth, show you the teeth and all that, man. Esau's a bad motherfucker. Yeah. Esau's a bad motherfucker. He's not no punk, right? He's a weirdo, right? And we mistake his wickedness for his weakness. Oh man, Esau can conquer some shit because you know why? The Heavenly Father allowed him to do it.
I was about to say, King David said, "Deliver me from the wicked, which is thy sword."
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
I have given the earth into the hand of the wicked.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna give the earth to some punk ass.
Right.
You know?
Right. Esau conquered the world, man. Esau conquered the world. Right now, we're not saying that he did it on his own power. Right. Because the scriptures tell us that didn't happen. Right. But Esau ain't no softy, man.
He said that the cunning hunter. Cunning hunter means knowledgeable hunter.
Yeah, man. Esau knows, man. Esau knows. He got you calling yourself a Blackfoot. You ain't no Blackfoot. You a Gadite from the nation of Israel. And your homeland is Jerusalem.
Yeah.
That's who you are. Right? So you think Esau, that's exactly what he wants, for you to think that he ain't gonna do nothing. He's harmless. Yeah. He's a weak white man. So whatever you think.
You don't believe.
I don't know if Gad really get into God. They get into in ancient times they did. Right? But as now time wore on, when you
Esau did God.
You say something about
all them natives right now, we've got a very small handful of natives that speak about the atrocities that Esau has done. But a lot of them have been blessed or been given. A lot of them have been given, a little bit of land. Look at the Wampanoags, the casinos. They gonna fall and sit right with Esau, man.
You know, can I
go ahead. You got it.
Because Elder Pastor Ramla just did a show on this, and I was watching it. And he made some good points, man. He said the Gadites that you see today weren't the warrior Gadites.
No,
because the warrior Gadites died. They was like, I don't fuck with these Edomites. They died in war. The ones that you see today are the descendants of the people that agreed with Esau.
Right. Right. When you kill the
Sometimes you kill
Right.
$5 Indian.
Oh, great point.
when you kill the chief, you kill the chief, all the Indians are gonna, so-called Indians are gonna just follow suit right with the man who killed the chief.
Yeah.
And likewise to this very day, man, they're gonna follow suit. And now Esau has given, because Esau knows who this land belongs to. But now they're giving all these Native Americans all type of reparations through the casino avenue, which is, you know, if you have Indian blood in you, you can trace it back to the tribes. Esau gonna give you a cut of the pie.
Yeah.
But if you can't do that, then you're assed out. But again, Esau's not stupid. He knows exactly what he's doing, because before Gad gets his cut, Esau's getting his cut.
Right.
You think all that money's going to Gad? You out your damn mind, man. You out your mind.
Esau claimed to be Gad.
Oh, of course, like the brother said, $5 Indian. Yep.
Right.
That was put into place so they could earn that land.
Yeah.
All right, where we at? 36.
Let's start at because the whole chapter is about Esau taking land that don't belong to him.
Right. Ezekiel 36 and 1. Also,
He may have done it by slithery means, but he still conquered, right? And when it came down to fighting, Esau did that too. When they were calling themselves Romans, the whole world feared them. Right? Matter of fact, somebody go to what's that, Daniel 7, and where it says there was a beast diverse from others.
Okay.
I want to say it's the 12th verse, but
It's
I'm
the verse
not
8.
sure. Is it 8?
Yeah. Wait. That's Daniel's 2. You said diverse from others?
Yeah.
Let me
There
see.
was a fourth that was diverse from all the ones before.
Oh yeah, I think it's
I want to say it's 12, but I haven't read it.
6 or 7.
It's in Daniel 7, I believe.
Yeah, no, it's Daniel's the 7th chapter. I'm just trying to figure out what verse.
I think it's
But
6.
let's go here right
You
now.
got it? You got it?
Yeah, please.
This is Daniel 7 and 7. Okay. It says, after this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a fourth beast, and dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly.
Right.
And it said, and it had great iron teeth.
Great iron teeth. Go ahead.
It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it.
Right. That ain't no light thing, man. Esau was fucking shit up, man. That's what they do. That's what they do. Right? You got this guy that came out as a whistleblower. This guy Snowden, the economic hitman. He explained how the CIA works. CIA is a special agency for Esau to put hits out on the nations that don't want to bow down to them. Right?
would you describe something with great iron teeth?
Yeah.
Iron can't really just dismantle or bend no iron, right? You know? So you figure iron teeth are used to tear into shreds.
Yeah.
We're just talking about iron teeth. So you know there was some power with this beast that is speaking.
Keep going, bro. So
It says, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
Yep. Go ahead.
It says, and I considered the horns, and behold, they came up among them another little horn.
Right. So we won't get too deep into it, but this that scripture is talking about the Roman Empire.
Right.
And this being the second leg of that.
Yep.
Right? So Esau did something, man. Esau did something, and it was important enough for the Heavenly Father to mention it in prophecy. Right?
Yeah.
But they try to marginalize it because, you know, Esau is a frail guy when you look at him today, right? But we all are. We're not the same men that we were in ancient times. The scriptures tell you that when you read in Second Ezra, the angel told Ezra, he said, look, man, you know, go to a woman that had a baby in her old age and ask her why her younger children are stronger than her older children. I mean, I'm sorry. The children that she had in her youth are stronger than the children that she had in her older age. Right? So we're all weak. Don't look at today's Edomite and think he's just been whack all his life. The Lord gave him great power.
You would say, you know, when Jacob and Esau was born, it said that we would be stronger than them.
Yeah.
But the Lord blessed them with a great sword.
Right.
So yeah, if you take away Esau's sword, then yeah, we would have a chance.
Right.
But hey, he got that blessing.
Right. And the Heavenly Father. Go ahead, bro.
Now, if I could add on to what Ron said. I'm saying even saying that Esau is superior in his power. To show you what Daniel 4:17 said, that the Lord ruled in the kingdom man. Even it's not even about the power. It's the Lord that said that, like I said, a base man rule over any nation that he wants.
Just to show his mind.
Lord's behind that, you know.
Ready? Ezekiel 36 and 1. Ezekiel 36 and 1. Also, thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, and say, Ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord power, because the enemy have said against you, Aha! Even the ancient high places are ours in possession.
So, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. That's not a mistake.
Right.
It wasn't an accident that I keep mentioning this the last couple of weeks. But you take a look at the map of the Hasmonean dynasty and see what's Esau and lands that wasn't promised to him. Yeah. Esau wasn't no softy. Even he had to take out the Horites to get his land seared.
Yeah.
Esau was no weakling. No. And they took over many lands, man. Many lands throughout history. The scriptures tell you.
They're still doing it to this day.
That's it. How you gonna say this minuscule Edomite, but his blessing was a sword? That ain't no light thing. What you do with a sword?
Yeah. I mean, structure.
You ever heard of a gladius? You know what a gladius is? You don't know what a gladius is, man?
Like gladiator.
Right. You know, so why is a gladiator a gladiator? Because they wield the gladius. It's a sword. Right? It's a bigger of the swords too. Because a machete is a sword. Right? There's all types of swords, different sizes that you wield for different reasons or in different styles of fighting, right? But the gladius is the biggest of them. Heaviest. Right. So when you had a gladiator, he was called as such because he could wield that gladius.
Which is a very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
I got a sword that I found, believe it or not. This shit is about this tall. That motherfucker's heavy. I'm like, God, I need two hands. I can't, them gladiators, they was able to.
They use both hands.
Yeah, but some of them strong ones. Yeah. But yeah, man, that's just a tough thing to wield.
Yeah. So what you do with a sword is you don't dig holes and plant flower beds with it. You kill. So if the Heavenly Father made His blessing a sword, then He's a killer. What does it say in John 10:16? The thief cometh not but to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Right?
I got a quick piece of it. This is Jeremiah 27, verse 1 and 2. Real quick, it says, Jeremiah 27 and 2. Thus says the Lord to me, make thee bonds and yoke and put them upon thy neck and send them to the king of Edom. Right. Because like brother said, the Most High took the man lower than all the nation, base man, just to show his might, his power. No one would have thought that someone as well as Esau could become that mighty and powerful. Right. And look at him now. They came off from the dust and become the mightiest nation on earth and overthrow a powerful people.
Every nation.
Every nation. Every nation.
And Esau has subdued every nation.
Yeah.
You had powers before who conquered the whole known world, but not every nation. Esau conquered all the known world and every nation in it.
Yep.
Esau, you can't say Esau is just go to 12.6 million slaves. I don't believe in that. Why? How did we get here?
Right.
How do we get here? Why is my last name Thompson? Why is my last name Thompson if Esau didn't do nothing?
Yep.
All right, let's keep on. Let's keep on.
Verse 3. Therefore prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord power, because he have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that ye might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen.
Right.
And ye are taken up into the lips of Tarkis, and are an infamy among the people.
Yep.
Therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord power.
Right.
Thus saith the Lord power, to the mountains and to the hills.
So to our land, right? Go ahead.
To the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, to the desolate wastes, and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and a derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about.
Right. So Esau took that land. Did you get to verse 5 yet?
Well, I'm on it now.
Hit me, brother.
Thus saith the Lord power, Surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land unto their possession.
So Idumea is the Latin way to say Edom, right? So Edom conquered our land, man.
Yep.
It's not a mistake. It's not an accident. When you don't have to read anymore, but if you read that whole Ezekiel, the 36th chapter, that's what it's talking about. Esau taking our land, right? That ain't no weak person. Esau did something. Go to 2 Ezra 6 and 7, you remember? 2 Ezra 6 and 7? 2 Ezra, the Apocrypha?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 7. And he says, Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the time? Not Russia. What should be the parting?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Put it again. Then answered I. Come on, Levi. Give it to me, Levi. Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that follows? Right. And then I was reading this all last week and some this week. 2nd Ezra's. Ezra was struggling, man. He was going through it mentally.
Yeah.
But it reminded me as the angel revealed certain things to Ezra, and he was saying certain things to Ezra. By the time you get to the 11th chapter, the 12th chapter, and on, the angel was pretty much gave Ezra, like, look, he gave him all the way to the end what was going to happen, and he said that he told him here, like, look, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of that following. But it said how Esau was going to rule, what his power would be. When you read the 11th chapter, the 12th chapter, it said this is going to be them. This is how it's going to happen, right? And it made me think of when Paul said the mystery of iniquity doth already work, because no one thought about Edom conquering the whole world. I think about this, right? Like, why would he say the mystery of iniquity already worked? Why was it such a mystery? Because it's so obvious to us that Edom is the one that was being talked about. It's so obvious to us. But in those times, they didn't. Yeah, right. But in those times, they didn't think that Esau would surmount so much power.
Yeah, I was about to say, even in this life, we ain't know nothing about Esau. We grew up believing that God was really white, Jesus was white, the angel was white. You know what I'm saying? So that really is the mystery of iniquity. We looked at this man as some type of nobility.
Great point.
And they looked at him as the white man as the ultimate savior that they could do no wrong. You know?
But as I was reading in Ezra's, when he said that, man, that was kind of like look, I'm gonna tell you this. Esau is gonna be the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. When Ezra's lived, he lived during the time of I want to say Cyrus, right? Yeah. Well, he lived through a couple of different rulerships, right? But my point is, it was the Medo-Persian Empire that he lived under. So Edom wasn't even in power yet. Yeah. Can you imagine that? So he's telling them this. He said, look, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. He probably didn't have, when you read it, you got to really read, you got to really go over it. Of course, we've read 2nd Ezra several times, but you really got to keep going into it, because you start to realize, like, damn, like, he was telling Ezra some heavy shit. Can you think about that, right? Edom didn't have any power. He had strongholds, right? Meaning that he had land and what have you, but he didn't really start conquering the world until they were the Greeks. Yeah. When they started really, matter of fact, let's go to that. Let's go to was that First Maccabees? This is Maccabees 1 and was it 7? First Maccabees 1 and 7?
First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1.
Yep.
And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim,
right,
has smitten Darius, king of the Persia, and me.
Now check this out. Philip of Macedon wasn't no pushover either. He wasn't a pushover either. When you go into the history of the Greeks and how they came all the way up until you get to Alexander, Philip was doing a lot of work, man. Philip was putting in a lot of work, and his desire was that the prophecy that is spoken about in what's that, Daniel, the 8th chapter, Daniel, the 7th chapter. His desire was that was about him, that he was going to be the ruler of Grecia, but it was going to be his son, right? Keep going.
Has smitten Darius king of smitten Darius king of the Persian and Medes, that he went in his stead the first over Greece, and made many wars and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth.
You win many wars and strongholds and slay kings. You ain't no pushover, man. That's not a pushover doing that. This measly Edomite. No, he had power, man. The Lord gave him power, and he reigned with that power. Go ahead.
And went through to the end of the earth and took spoil of many nations.
Took spoil of many nations. What does it say? To the victor goes the spoil. So the fact that they had spoil means they had to have a victory, and the fact that they had a victory means they weren't weak. They was conquering. Go ahead.
And so much that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was.
It's so much that the earth was quiet before him. You see that? What's it? When Debo come around, he said, what he say? He said, when he come around, I be quiet. When he leave, I be talking again. If you quiet before somebody, that means you scared. Right?
Exactly.
Keep going.
And he says, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strongholds and ruled over country and nation and king who became tributaries unto him.
So if you are a nation and you pay tributary to another nation, what does that mean? That's the ultimate form of conquering. That's you're now being put into subjection. That didn't just. Another thing too, they think that Edomite prowess came overnight. No, it started here, all the way back during Philip of Macedonia's time. Right? Go ahead.
And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servant, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth.
So after Alexander had died, right? He had Cassander, Lysimaeus, Ptolemy, and Seleucus, who took over, right? And they divvied up all of Alexander's work. Right? They divvied it up. The Seleucians ended up consuming all of or most of the east, and Ptolemy ended up taking all or most of the western things that Alexander had done,
which were the two prominent lines that came out of those kings. The other two weren't really that major of a factor. Those two came out.
Now, you had this time, right? But again, you already had little Edomite things happening here and there, right? Now, you by the time you get to this, now Esau or Edom is the top power in all the world. So if you was an Edomite and you were calling yourself a Samaritan, say, right? What would you call yourself? You say, oh, I'm a Greek. I'm a Greek, because now you're that nation Edom has finally taken over, right? But let's keep going.
And he says, right here. And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die.
Right, and if I'm not mistaken, you had Antiochus Epiphanes. I think he came out of Seleucid line too. Am I right?
He came out of
the Seleucid line, right? So every Edomite after that had the vitriol of Esau, man. He had the vitriol of Esau, and he was hell bent on what? On destroying those people. Matter of fact, hold on. Antiochus Epiphanes wasn't even thinking about Israel at one point. He lost the war and said, you know what, I'm going to go back over there and fuck up the Israelites.
That's that hatred.
He lost some war. And I think, matter of fact, he was trying to go down into Egypt, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was Egypt that got you by Ptolemais.
Correct, right? So now, then he started, he was like, yo, fuck them, I'm going to fuck up. Really, all of this destruction that you hear about in Maccabees, that was all because somebody was mad because he lost a war, so he's gonna fuck up our people. No, man. He ain't doing nothing to you. Why you gonna beat us up?
Easier for you, man. And he says, wherefore he called his servants as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth and part of his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servant bare rule everyone in his place.
So then from that point on, it was Edomite rule. It still is. Even when you had the so-called Dark Ages, which was the time in between the pagan Roman Empire, then this second leg of the Roman Empire when the French started taking power, the Spanish, and then the British, right? So there was a space in time where Israelites were ruling, but they weren't under the law, statutes, and commandments. There was a lot of civil wars, right, amongst our people, and so there was no real power. It was only a matter of time before Esau came back into. That's what the Renaissance is about, right? Rebirth. Correct, right? So when you thank you, brother. When you go into the word Renaissance, it means to be reborn, right? Why were they being reborn? It was that second leg of the Roman Empire coming back, and they took over the same provinces, right? And then ultimately they took over the Americas, and now this is where they rule out of. This is nothing. America is nothing more than an Edomite throne, man. This is where they rule out of, because how do you maintain your power? You maintain it militarily. And when you think of the three main city-states, when you think of London, you think of DC, and then the Vatican, right? Those are the three ways you rule the people. But the way you conquer the people is by the military, right? And where does the military come out of? Washington, DC, right? That's where the head of the military is, right? So this is nothing more than the throne, the capital, if you will, of the Edomite kingdom.
And the religious capital is Rome.
That's it.
And the financial capital is London.
That's it. That's it. So this is their seat. They chill over there in London with the bread. But their police force is America, the American military, right? So this is their throne, and this is where they rule out of, right? And this is why it's so important to America's destruction, because what it's saying is this is the end of their power. That those iron teeth, those how they stamp the residue with their feet. That's the end of their power, the end of their military might. And then what you're going to see is the Lord Yahushua emerge out of those ashes, out of those that third world war that's going to happen, out of that fire that's going to happen. You're going to see the Lord Yahushua raise out of that as the king who reigns supreme, and his brethren, the Israelites with him.
That's how you know America is the weaker from Rome. Probably real quick, Elder. When you look at ancient Rome, and how the glory of power, when they would go out there and conquer many land, and they would even have other nations and other tribes fight each other. They would infiltrate, and cause strife amongst the people. So it's the same tactic that Rome did back then. That's how they conquered. It's the same tactic that America uses today.
That's what Haman did.
Exactly.
That's what Haman did. And then you had Artaxerxes. He found out about it. He said, "Look, man, this guy done came up in here, gained some eminence, right? And we gave him a little power. He even gave Haman one of his rings. And what was Haman doing? When you read, as a matter of fact, if I'm not mixing up stories." Wasn't there like two doormen that was plotting to kill?
Yeah, it was two. It was two that was plotting to kill Haman.
There were two guards that were trying to take over Xerxes.
Yes.
Right? This is speculation, of course, but I believe that they were Edomites, right? Because Haman was an Edomite. He was from what they said, Hamathada. He was in Macedonia, but who was his father? It was an Agagite, but he had a name. I'm trying to think of his name. But yes, when you go into the line of Agag, they go back to Edom. Right? But let's keep going. Let's read there. Because we so many times you got people.
Watch out, y'all.
Okay, let's move up a little bit.
Go to verse 9. Verse 9. I started verse 9. Verse 9 could be 1 and 9.
Oh, wow, yeah. You coming through?
Yeah, he went for these people to pass, bro.
Give us a second, y'all. This truck gonna come through there.
Verse 9. Verse 9, be 1 and verse 9.
So start at 9.
Start at 9.
Yeah.
Start at 9.
Yeah, you start to.
I'll read it up for there.
Go ahead.
This is on First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their son after them many years, and evil were multiplied in the earth.
And that evil has still been persistent to this very day. Even when those generals had taken over and they fought amongst each other for pieces of land and whatever,
Yep.
evils were multiplied even to this very day. So those Edomites and them spirits of those Edomites are still, the descendants of these Edomites are still in power today, man. Go ahead, read on verse 10.
Yep. And he says, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, sure name Epiphanes, and son of
Generation.
read it again.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
I put it from the top again. And after this, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their son after them for many years, and evil will multiply in the earth.
Yep.
And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, sure name Epiphanes,
Surname Epiphanes. Yep.
son of Antiochus the king,
Antiochus.
the king, who had been a hostage at Rome.
Yep.
And he reigned 137 years in the kingdom of Greeks. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen.
So anyone that would say that Esau is this measly white man doesn't have a full picture of history and what happened, right? We can't overlook what Esau did, because he's a major part of prophecy.
And let me say this elder real quick, and how we got into all this, because this cat was talking about how he knows he's a North American Indian of his tribe. Elder, brother, read that last verse again real quick.
Sure,
I just want
no
to add this
problem.
to the mix here.
Gotcha. And he says, and in those days there were out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen.
When all hell's being put on you, and you have nowhere to go, you're gonna end up, siding and bowing down to the power that's at hand. And likewise, when Esau came over here, they started killing Gad off. Do you think those North American Indians, they bowed right down to Esau? I mean, they gave a hell of a fight. Esau came in with that Gatling gun, all right? And it was pretty much no match, man. Then they started wiping out all the buffalo. And then they started sending, as the elder was getting into earlier in the brothers, they were sending them kids up to Canada to the boarding schools. So they decimated the North American Indian. They went into certain villages when the men were out hunting and wiped out all villages. When you're subjected to shit like that, you tend to just let yourself, become less of a man, so to say.
Desperation.
Right. So to have the thought that, my people, I know who I am. Listen, we all been fucked up, man.
Yeah.
We know we're Israelites, and we can only come from what we gathered to predict what tribe we're from. But even still, we truly don't know what tribe we're from. So for this dude to come up and say, "Oh, man, I'm this and that's my," we don't know, man.
You don't know.
Right? No, he could be a Zebulonite. Who knows, man?
Right.
Go ahead.
I'll give a shout out to Polite and Sonetta, but he had nothing to say about the Hebrew Israelites.
Well, again,
He picked this up a little bit, but his thing was he used what they call authority bias or something like that, whereas basically you're using someone else's authority to kind of conquer the conversation. Right. So if I say Sarnet and Polite, he thought we was gonna be like, oh shit, Sarnet and Polite, like, you know what I mean, like, and again, we've had our verbal bouts with them, but who cares about them?
right,
Who cares about them?
right.
It really, at face value, I mean, we're all doing the same thing. We're out. We believe in a certain thing. We believe in a certain way, and so we're trying to share it with the people.
Say
What,
again.
are they better than us? No, they niggas is sitting in the house just like we sit in the house.
Right. I say, and then even the
Debate is not the right way to determine anything. Because a debate is the person who can present whatever facts they
That's a
have
great
better
point.
than the other. It's not that they have to be right or wrong.
100%.
They just can have to present the facts that they have better than the other person.
My take on
That's a
debate.
debate.
My take on debate is you're getting to the bottom of. You're getting to the truth.
Yeah.
If both parties are looking for the truth, then debate will have a beautiful flow to it, right? But if both parties is debating and say I'm right, you're wrong, then that's not real debate. Everybody should be wanting the truth. I want the truth.
Man.
Both parties should want the truth. I don't care if I dug up something and I found something and now this is what I believed, I'm going to stick to this. No, because you got to ask yourself why you were digging in the first place. You were digging to get to the truth. So debate should be about the truth, not who was better. Polite did that. Polite, and then polite. That's a poor. There's better people in the Black consciousness movement that you could have cited as a knowledgeable person. He's not it.
Right.
This dude, I watched that debate. I watched that debate with Polite and Captain Cesario.
Captain Cesario,
You know a little something. He's been around for a little while. I'm talking about the very, very first debate that they had. And so they did it. They set it up. They set the forum up in a way where it's 3 rounds. Right. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Polite went first, and then Cesario went, then Polite, then Cesario, then Polite, then Cesario. You can see very closely, or very obviously, that Polite was only prepared to go 1 round. Because the rest of the time, every time he went up, he walking around the forum. You know, if I wanna show my woman off, I'm gonna show my woman off, making this girl do a spin in the middle of the crowd, walked around the whole forum. And he didn't have no information after that first round. Yeah. Right? So he was unprepared.
Exactly.
When you saw Cesario, he was prepared. He was prepared.
He make a fool out of himself because he could have debated. He didn't have anything to say.
Yeah, because it wasn't about truth. It was I'm right, you're wrong.
Yep.
And that you always gonna run out of gas doing that. So what he did was he put on a show after that. He became a rapper, walking all in the crowd and showing his girl. You were just a rapper.
I got a question. I was thinking about
Brace yourself, brothers.
Yeah.
Yo. Go ahead,
about, like the Native Americans, right?
Yep.
In relation to the Negro, and in relation to the white man. So, it's 2 questions. One, why does the white man give more favor to the Native? So if we all Israelites, the Native American people is Israelites.
When you say give more favor, what do you mean?
Like they got reservations.
Okay.
And back then,
I'm with you now.
And back then, I heard that Native Americans also had, and even in my family, had Negro slaves as well. So it's like, I don't.
So what was the second question?
Well, yeah, that was
The first question was, why does Esau have more favor to the North American Indian?
And then why was the North American Indian allowed to have?
So to answer your question quickly, and then we'll get into the details, is because the nation of Israel is under the curses, right? That's one. The second thing is, when you talk about this border school, that's important part of it, right? Because if I'm Esau, right, and I'm the one that wants to maintain my power, what I'm going to do is make those 12 tribes be against each other. You understand? And so if I'm bringing Gad to boarding school, I know I made that product. So that's the product I'm going to use to take down the head tribe, right? And so this is a very simple. We're under the curses, bro. Yeah. We're under the curses. They're being allowed to have us in slavery doesn't mean that they're not in slavery, right? It's just like the difference between a house nigga and a field nigga. Is the house nigga not in slavery? He is, right? Yeah. So that's why Gad was allowed to do that. So and that's Judah had Judites in slavery too, but there's another part of that, right? I had this book. I can't remember the name of it, but I got it from the gift shop at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, right? And what they said was a lot of those North American Indians, so-called, or we'll say Gad. When we talk about North American Indians, we're gonna say Gad from this point forward. But when Gad was putting so-called Negroes in slavery, they were doing it to save them from Edomite slavery. It wasn't a thing where I'm going to have you in slavery, you're going to work my fields. They were doing it. Well, a lot of them, what they were doing was they were buying slaves and then setting them free.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes, sir.
Go
ahead, bro.
Real quick though, and it wasn't unlawful for you to have a Hebrew slave amongst you.
Right,
As long as you treated him and did according to the law, you gave him his time of release, and that time came after that 7-year period.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say it was Reuben had a big part of that too. That's why like a lot of Reubenites in Judah, they look alike, of course, and Gad too.
Yeah.
But they did a whole bunch of intermingling. And Reuben was the one that was like taking the Judites in and then setting them up being people, like you said. Yeah.
Yep. When you ever seen the movie Rosewood?
Yeah.
The movie Rosewood is about Reubenites, the tribe of Reuben that was in the small town Rosewood, and what the details of that happening were. So watch that movie Rosewood.
Yep.
Good movie. Yep. Those were Reubenites. That was a Reubenite town. But the point I want to make sure that it is made is don't hear slave or slavery and automatically think the worst of the person who was the owner or the purchaser, because when you just read history sometimes at face value, it doesn't tell the story, it doesn't tell the full picture of the story. Right now, when you go to there's a book I have called Lost Tribes and Promised Land. Right, it's a more popular book amongst GMS, amongst Israel. But in that book, it talks about how when the I forget the conquistador at the time. I gotta start getting back into reading, man. I used to read so much, but the point is they understood that Gad was in the mainland. They understand that Reuben was in parts of that land. That Ephraim was over the waters. They understood who was who in those times. It wasn't like a lot of people think that the natives that were here in the land lost their Israelite culture. It wasn't until Esau came over here in droves and really took over the Americas where that history was wiped out. But a lot of Gadite history, let me say it this way. A lot of the history will tell you that they understood that they were Israelites that came across the waters. That wasn't a mystery amongst them. Matter of fact, there's another book. It's really expensive now. I had it when it was a cheaper book, right? But it's since I've gone back online to try to find it because I want to have it again. It's a book by James Adair called The North American Indian.
You're gonna pay over $1,000 for that.
Don't do that to me, brother. But it was a great book. It was a great book. This dude James
over $1,000 for it now.
Yeah.
How much?
Yeah, $1,000
for it now.
When I bought it, it was $65.
Remember that?
It was $65.
We know where that book is now. Probably on a bookshelf somewhere. Somebody's lying.
Man. Yeah, but it's a great book, right? And James Adair was somebody who spent a lot of time around the North American Indians.
But real quick though, but we understand why that book is $1,000 now.
Yeah.
Because there's pertinent information that Esau don't want out, and they know damn well Jake ain't spending $1,000 on that book.
He'll spend $1,000 on some Jordans.
Yeah, you got some Jordans and the newest PlayStation, all that shit. They'll ring it up. So let them.
$1,000 in a book.
We always say, what's the saying? You want to hide something from a nigga? Put it in a book. Nigga look at the cover, be like, oh shit, oh, that's okay. Let's go.
You know what too? This bookshop down the end of the road here, the Brattle Bookshop, go there. We got a lot of books in there. That's just salvage books. My book probably in there. My book probably in there, but
they probably pick it up where you're dropping.
Yeah, right. No, I didn't drop it. I don't want to tell the story, but
Other ones tell all kinds of shit. Tell that one.
no, we used to go there every Saturday before. We used to camp on Saturday, so we used to go in there every Saturday and rack up. Sometimes we leave like 5 or 6 books. But anyway, the book about James Adair, right? So he spent significant time with the North American Indians, and the conclusion that he had was that this has to be one of the tribes of Israel because of the way they lived their lives, the way they cooked their food, the way they dressed, right? The language that they spoke. He through what they say science, right? His scientific observation was like these people got to be one of the tribes of Israel. They act like them, they live like them. Even down to having tribes. People think when you think of tribe, you either think of Ham or you think of Gad when you say the word tribe, right? But tribes come from Israel. We have 12 tribes. And really what that's saying is that you have a father that had children, right? And that those children are from that main progenitor, right? There were 12 progenitors.
Was that the same book that they said that God pronounced the Lord Yehovah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great book, man.
Yeah.
I was reading it and I was like, man, I can't believe that they allowed this book to be sold.
That's the Lord.
They allowed this book to be sold, but now it's thousands of dollars, man. It's hard to find. It's hard to find that book at a reasonable price. And I want the hardcover book. That's what I had. I had a hardcover. The book was a big book too. Big book has some weight to it. Huh? From Babylon Timbuktu, that's another good book. That's another good book. You got it on you?
I got it at home.
Okay, you took it out your bag. We took all our books. We used to carry duffel bags worth of books. This brother right here. You want to talk about the bookman? That's the bookman right there. That's the bookman.
He has a library in his house.
Carry all kinds of weight.
Yeah, man.
Books, man.
And make you not want to come. I gotta lug them because before we came here, there were spots where we had to park. Like when we was down on Bolton Street, we might have to park a half a mile away, and then walk to the spot we was at. We had 2 duffel bags full of books, just walking. And then the sign, you know. Those are the days, man. Now everything is on the phone. We don't got to carry all those books.
You can download it all. You can download it.
PDF.
That's it. By James Adair. Oh no, that's the whole thing. They ain't making you pay for it.
Yeah. That's one thing about the PDFs, man. Everything on the internet now.
Because a lot of times what happens when they do it like this, they'll have a part of it.
They're not gonna put the whole thing in there.
It looks like it's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's the whole shit.
Free PDFs?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So if you go on Google and type in, sometimes Google what they'll do is they'll put in this case, like a printout of each page so you can read it. It's a dope book, man. Yeah. And the reason why I know about it because Elder Apostle Zahar, of course, I think he has it, but he has a if I'm not mistaken, original edition. So his is old. Mine was a reprint.
Is that archives?
What's that? Yeah. Google Archives.
Yeah.
Because they got a lot of that. They'll put the book, but sometimes they'll charge you. They'll give you like a page that you Google. You might have Googled the word. They'll give you the page where that word was.
Yeah.
And they won't give you the rest of it. They'll charge you. Oh, dope. Yeah.
I have more facts and bits. You can't find it.
Yeah, this brother, man. He when he started coming around, it was like it gave like a stamp of a lot of stuff we would say. We didn't have the dates and the history around it. When he started coming around, he would bring us books. We'd be like, damn, look at this shit right there. Yeah. You know, he had this brother right here got all the books, man. He got all the books and all the. He was he's good at retaining when it happened. Yep. We were talking about some sort of history. That was 1972. They had and now we know the story. Now we got the complete story. In 1816, this guy over here did that. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, and then it's a history of library. Man. The book that they have in his house, you Google on the internet right now. They're now at a higher price.
Yeah.
They're not at a higher price.
But the point of all of this, right, is that the history is there. Yeah. Right? They talk about it as though it's just the Bible that we go into. But the history is there, man.
Antiquity of the Jews. Mm-hmm. That's a great book to go into. Yeah.
In the
War of the Jews.
Yep.
Them two.
Yep. Another thing too, right? You gotta read between the lines sometimes, because sometimes it's not a book that points out that these people are the Israelites. Yeah. But it's still talking about them. Mm-hmm. When you go into things that happened in 70 AD, and you read history, little excerpts from history about that time period, it's talking about these people. Right. It's not talking about the even when you go into you know what book is a good book to read too? That I still have this one is the 13th Tribe. Yeah, by Arthur Koestler. Yeah. When you go into that book, it tells you really when the switch started happening. You had Edomites that were calling themselves Jews, right? Yeah. That when the land was barren and all Israel had been removed from the land, when Edom got down in there and they started, raising up and really having strongholds in the land of Israel, they would send out letters, right? And then there was certain men that was like, oh, the Israelites, we back in action, baby. And they would travel back from the lands that they lived in back to the land of Israel only to find that they were Edomites. Read that book, man. That's a good book too.
I can't remember his name, but it was somebody from the Hasmonean line who actually converted the Edomites to be Jews.
I want to say it was Jason. They call him Jason Hyrcanus.
John Hyrcanus.
John Hyrcanus.
Yeah.
John
Hyrcanus. That's the origin of the small hats. That's what they basically.
She forced them to become.
So, all right, y'all can stay here, but y'all got to. But how smart is that for an Edomite to do that? Yeah. To really get in the land and really take part in it, to kind of wiggle his way in there. All right, fine, I'll convert. I'll circumcise myself and my children. Right? And that's how they got in there. Yeah. That Hasmonean history kind of sows. I won't make it such a lofty claim, but what it does, it gives you a couple of the pieces together. Yeah. Because a lot of things were happening during that time. When you think about like, matter of fact, let's go back to First Maccabees. Let's go back to First Maccabees.
Anti-Providence 69.
Yeah.
69
Yep.
BC.
Let's go to go ahead, bro. You got something to say?
Revelation 2 and 9. You know what I'm saying? I know your tribulation.
Yes.
Rich.
Yes.
It's like. It's not just like we talk about the people in the land, but it actually started with the Herodian dynasty. You know what I'm saying? Because they was calling themselves us.
They were calling themselves Israelites.
And they looked like us because they was having,
But like the brother said, they came from Antipater. Yep. Well said, bro. Well said. Let's go back to First Maccabees.
Yeah, sure.
And go down to
they had Antipater had
go to the 32nd verse. First Maccabees.
They was dark back then.
30,
he had a son. Looked just like a light-skinned Jacob.
First Maccabees 1 and 32.
Yeah.
And he says, but the woman and children took their captive and possessed the cattle.
Let me see. I want to see where it started.
Yeah. What, 32 or something?
Oh, 329. Start at 29.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Verse 29.
Yep.
And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them. But all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city.
When they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city. So when they finally was like, all right, man, y'all good, man. Come on in. Then he fell upon the city. So this guy Antiochus Epiphanes, man, he was a real demon. He was a real demon, man. But let's keep going.
And smote a very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoil of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls.
Then we talk about that. He set the city on fire, right? Pulled down their houses, right? Pulled down the walls of the city, right? That's the first thing you do when you conquer a city. You burn it up. Any trace, any trace of the presence of the people that were there before them, they wiped it out, man. Go ahead.
And walled it off on every side. But the woman and the children took their captive and possessed the cattle. Then they built the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with a mighty tower.
So then they rebuilt the city of David, right, and made it theirs. Now it's a stronghold there. Now when you go into so-called secular history, and you read about the Hasmonean dynasty, they'll start telling you about a lot of those Edomite strongholds. You just have to make the connection, because in secular history, they'll say Edom and they'll say Esau. But you won't know it's a so-called white man if you don't have the scriptures in the men of the Lord to teach you that. Right?
They did. And one more, and then this is real quick. It said, and made it a stronghold for them, and they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves.
Right? So they took over Jerusalem. They took over Jerusalem. That didn't just after the Hasmonean dynasty. That didn't just end, like the brother said. This man John Hyrcanus made them convert. Okay, you can stay here. Now that the Maccabees took over and they now they were fighting back for their sovereignty, they said, fine, you guys got set up here, you can stay here, but you got to convert. And they made them circumcise themselves, man. And then they stayed in the land. But we've always had a history of that, where the Heavenly Father said to us, look, go in there, kill everything. Don't leave nothing. And he told us, look, when you leave it, you're gonna start following and doing what they do. We did the same thing when we took over what was the land of Canaan before we took it over. The Lord told us, when you go in there, don't leave no Canaanite nowhere. Don't leave none of them. But what do? We left some here, left some there, and then so when it comes to when you think of John Hyrcanus, right? It's no different. Edomites were already there. All right, we're going to have a mass exile of all the Edomites that are in the land. No, so they kept them there and made them convert. But those Edomites stayed there. So when you get so-called some so-called Jews or some so-called Jewish people are they're when they say my family's from Israel, they got an axe to stand on.
Axe to grind.
An axe to grind, a leg to stand on. Right? Because they people really go back to those times, man. Right? Now you have
my start from Jerusalem. They start from Israel.
100%. Yep. So we started talking about this because one person said that you expect me to believe this little white man took 12.6 million? Yes. Yeah. It wasn't in one trip. They didn't have a ship big enough to fit 12.6 million people on one ship. But over a period, so much so the sharks even caught hold of the boat pattern by following boats during certain time periods because they knew niggas gonna be thrown overboard at some point in time. They was gonna get a piece of meat someplace overnight.
That's why I love the scriptures, because even the name Gad, a troop shall overcome. And the American cavalry is the one that overcame him. That's why he called himself Blackfoot.
Right. Well said. Right. Well said. Yeah, man. So yeah, man. That's the history of the world is you can't marginalize it, right? I used to think that, and this is no fault of my father's, but when I was a kid, my dad was in that black consciousness, right? And so when I was learning about so-called black history, my mind told me that the history that you learn in school was fake. But no, you can't minimize what Napoleon did. You can't minimize what Alexander did. You can't minimize what some of the Spaniards did, Cortez and all of these different Spaniards that came over here as conquistadors. You can't minimize those things, man. The Heavenly Father gave them the sword to take over the whole world, and they did. Matter of fact, go to Genesis. What is it? 27. Yep. 27.
39.
39. Yeah, let's go right to it.
To 40 something.
Yeah, let's go right to it. You don't marginalize what the Heavenly Father. What would he say? What the Most High put together, let no man cut asunder.
Yeah.
The Heavenly Father gave you Esau power.
Genesis 27:30.
39.
I started 38. And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, my father. Yep. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept.
Yep.
And Isaac,
like a little baby. We say that, right? But Esau, he let that anger fuel him, man. He let that. He said, "Look," he said, "Now the time has come when my father is dead. I bury my father. And that nigga Jacob, I'm gonna kill his ass."
You know, sometimes when you cry, you got tears of anger.
Yeah. Furious. Yeah.
Continuing on. Yes, sir. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and as of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live.
And by thy sword shalt thou live. And he does, man. He's a gladiator. That's why he had Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe is a gladiator, right? He's the one. He has the sword. The sword of all swords is Esau's, man. Right. You know, go ahead.
And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shall serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have dominion, that thou shalt.
When thou shalt have dominion, right? Go ahead.
When thou shalt have dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck.
That's right. So your brother, he's gonna have the prowess. But when you finally have that dominion and you take over, you're gonna break your brother's yoke. And Esau did it. Let's go to Malachi 1 and 4. Let's talk about how he did that. Oh, listen, Jake have a good time, man.
I got where it started at when he broke the yoke.
Yeah. Give it to me.
2 Samuel 8 It said, 2 Samuel 8 and 11, which also King David did dedicate unto Yahweh with the silver and gold that he had dedicated of all the nations which he subdued, of Syria, of Moab, and of the children of Ammon, and the Philistines, and Amalek, and the spoil of Hadadezer, a son of Rahab, the king of Zobah. And David got him a name when he returned from smiting the Syrians in the valley of Salt, but being 18,000 men. And he put garrison in Edom throughout. That's not it. But this when he got him. This when he got him in subjection. I try to find when they broke the yoke.
I was reading this maybe some time ago. I won't get into it now because I can't confirm yet. But I want to say something about that scripture. But I'll refrain for now. But the point is, right? Even during King David's time, Esau was starting to bubble up, if you will. You know. What was your reading?
Malachi?
Yeah.
This is Malachi 1 and 4, and it reads, it says, whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places.
Right, we got to return and build the desolate places. Go ahead.
It says, thus said the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. They shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord had indignation forever.
Right. The borders of wickedness, right? So they had many borders, right, where they conquered, they took over, and made it their own land. But you notice they never called the land Edom. They called it Greece, they called it Rome, they called it America, called it Spain, right? Called it France, called it Italy. But they never called it Edom. They never called it Edom. Go ahead, bro.
I found it. 2 Kings 8.
Go
2
ahead,
Kings 8 and 20. In his days, Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah and made kings over themselves. So Joram went over to Zaire and all the chariots with him, and he rose by night and smote the Edomites, which compassed him about, and the captains of the chariots, and the people fled into their tents. Yet Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah unto this day.
You can also cite, even though this is afterwards, when because David ended up taking the Edomites out. But
And then
when Edom,
Agag? Agag.
When Solomon was, after Solomon had did what he did, and the tribes were separated by prophecy.
Egypt. On one of his skips to Egypt.
Yes. But my point is that he became an enemy to Solomon, or to Solomon's son for the rest of their lives. So really, you know, so yeah, man, there's a lot of history. There's a lot of Edomite history. Edomite ain't no pushover, man.
They're like vultures.
Basically, this is why the Lord preserved him and set him up to be that stronghold. As he did Pharaoh, and raised him up to be the hem of the whole earth. That's what he's called in Jeremiah. How's the ham of the whole earth? That's Esau, Edom leading the charge. Right? You ain't taking down Edom. You're not taking down and going against. You niggas is fighting against each other. You got like the elder said, you got a common enemy, but you guys don't want to dare even remotely come close to talking about him. You know. But all that being said, give me Jeremiah 51, real quick. What are you talking about?
This is Jeremiah 51 and 1. It says, thus said the Lord, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise against me in a destroying wind. It says, I will send unto Babylon fanners, and that it says that shall fan her and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble it shall be against her round about.
See, and that's what it's going to take to destroy Esau. The Lord's going to have to do these things. We're going to be on high looking down upon this earth, Lord willing, seeing the destruction of Esau, Edom, man.
That's right.
In this kingdom over here. The majority of the Edomites that are going to be left over there, they're going to be put in chains and shackles, and we're going to put them in slavery, man. But for the bulk of these devils over here, because this is a stronghold, man. This is the whore. This is where the beast truly dwells over here, man. Go ahead, read on.
Verse 3, it says, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifted himself up in the brigandine.
Right, that's the elder was talking about the military might. That's the brigandine is his military. He lifted himself up in his brigandine, and he's done just that, man. Esau runs around talking about He's the baddest military on the planet, man. And he got these devils who are in the military. He got them all fooled. They running around talking about nobody can beat us, especially when it comes to those Marines. They talk all that bullshit.
The crowd.
Yeah, the proud Marines. I mean, once again, he lifted himself up in his military. Go ahead.
It says, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts.
Yep.
It says, thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they are thrust through in her streets. It says, for Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God.
Right, so the Lord has never forgotten us. You know, you get all these people who talk about, oh, the Lord, they turn their back and the Lord turned his back on you. No, the Lord saved the remnant of the people that are going to return back unto him. All right? And we, Lord willing, we're part of that remnant that are returning back to the Lord. Did we not read earlier that those that turn their mind over to the Lord are going to be occupied in prophecy? These are Israelites he's talking about. Who you people are Israelites.
Paul said it best. He said, have the Lord cast off his people.
God forbid.
Yep.
I am also an Israelite of the tribe of Benjamin.
Yep.
You see? But people, okay, you know, you ever see these Christians or whoever they come up, what nationality was Paul?
Right,
you know,
right.
They get all stuck up. And then when you bring it out, I believe that's
11 and
Romans
1.
11 and 1.
Yep.
Yeah, you bring it out, they're like, oh, you know?
Yeah.
Because they fail to realize that the Apostle Paul, even though he was set up as the apostle of the Gentiles, he was set up to those Israelites who were being called Gentiles, who were living in that Gentile state of mind.
When you talk to Christians about Paul in 11 and 19, I think it's 11 and 19.
Yep.
Christians don't know that Paul was only talking to Israelites.
Right. Well, again, because they hear the word Gentile, that whole thing about it just being Israel is right out the window.
Yep.
Because they don't understand that first and foremost, there's two types of Gentiles. And the Apostle Paul was set up to those Gentiles who were Israelites, who were living as the other nations. And that's been proven time and time again, man. When Paul speaks to the Corinthians, when he's talking to the church over in Ephesus, he makes mention of these things, right? Go where we at? Jump down to 7.
Jeremiah 51:7, it says, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken.
Right. Now, what nation of people, what nation has done that? What nation has went throughout the four corners of the earth spreading this poison, or philosophies, if you will, or its democracies, if you will? America, man. So these prophecies are lining up exactly what's happening today. Read that again?
Yep. It says, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken.
Right. So when you watch videos and watching, they got McDonald's in China. They got all these, these so-called American restaurants all over the country, all over the world, rather. But that's America instilling its wickedness throughout these other lands. Go ahead.
It says the nation have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad.
Right. Now the nations are mad, right? Now what are they doing right now? These nations are now coming together to what? Get rid of your dollar bill. Because they're pissed off. And they're tired of being lied to. As the brother said, the bricks. All right? And now you're not going to hear a goddamn thing about sanctions.
81 nations are coming together.
81 nations, that's right. That's right.
To join BRICS.
Right. So now
81.
You're not going to hear a goddamn thing about a sanction. Because that's what a sanction does under the guise of the American dollar being the world's reserve currency. We can do whatever we want with you because you're using our currency. And if we now sanction you, we're not going to have anything to do with you. But these nations are getting together to wipe out that dollar. As soon as that dollar's gone, America's going to be lost in the sauce, man. She's going to be ready for the taking. Go ahead.
It says, verse 8, it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. It says, howl for her and take balm for her pain, and if so, she may be healed.
Right, if so, she may be healed. Right, but America is coming to the brink of destruction. There's not going to be any healing whatsoever. Stay here for now. Go ahead.
And it says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed.
Go ahead.
Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven.
Let everyone go into his own country. right? So what you're having is all these countries are now banding together, all right? And again, those who came to America and have established themselves, got jobs, created families, and built themselves, they're not going nowhere because they have drank of the wine of that fornication. They have sucked down that wicked juice, and now America's become their home. You know, they'll go all around the world and tell their peoples and whoever they may speak to, America's a great place to live. America's a great place to live. If your line of people was set up to prosper, it goes back to Psalms 83, that crafty counsel. Don't you know that treaty has been made up to this very day, where they gotta put the guys on the world. Oh, you people are gonna be the Zebulunites. You people are gonna be the Issacharites. And now these people who are proclaiming themselves to be the children of Israel, that just what sheds a cloud over the true children of Israel, because now they're saying, oh no, you're not these guys. They already went back to the land. Every year you have an influx of people come from different countries talking about the children of Israel have truly returned home. That's all smoke and mirrors, man. To keep the limelight off of the men of the Lord who are on the highways and byways with the sign pushing this word.
I read about that just recently.
Yeah,
That's the last article I read.
I know.
About Israel.
Yep. See?
That's the last article I read.
But you can only do it for so long, man. We're gonna finish up on this one here.
And it says, and the Lord hath brought forth our righteousness. It says, come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our power.
And isn't that what we're doing? We're declaring the work of the Lord, man. We're bringing out the word of the Lord. We're telling you that these things are going on. We're telling you that the Lord's going to come back to redeem the hopeful elect. We're telling you that the children of Israel are going to rule the so-called Negro, West Indian, so-called Puerto Rican, and Latin men, and Native American. We're telling you, we're declaring the powers of the Lord, man. And we're letting you know that in a short time, the Lord's going to make do without a shadow of a doubt who the true children of Israel are, man.
That's right.
You got people still going around, oh, maybe this and maybe that one, maybe he's not. It's going to be well established, man. Go ahead.
It says, make bright the arrows, gather the shields.
Tussle boy doing? You already got a kid?
With the hat on.
Hey, yo, you see Tussle boy? Go ahead, bro.
Jeremiah 51:11, it says, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord had raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes.
That's right. And who's leading the charge? The Russians. The Russians are leading the charge right now. Vladimir Putin and all the hosts of all these countries, large and small countries, they're all coming together. The brother just mentioned it, we make mention of it. These 80 countries are coming together. Who do you think is going to be at the head of that, man? Vladimir Putin's going to be at the head of that, man. The northern country. Go ahead.
It says, for his devices against Babylon and to destroy it.
His devices is against Babylon and to destroy it. This is modern day Babylon, man.
Yep.
This is about to be destroyed. So we in the last days where the things are now starting to heat up and gear up. And if you ain't ready, man, you're going to get destroyed over here, man. We're trying to tell you. The prophecies are coming to pass every day. All right? And when these nations finally get together to rid the American dollar and to rid the American way, you best believe there's going to be all hell breaking loose over here, man. Go ahead.
It says, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple.
You see that? It is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple. Why? Because the bulk of the Lord's people were brought over here and have been slain in this land. All right? They've been slain, they've been worked to the bone, and even to this very day, man. Look at Jake. Jake is 70 fucking years old, working a full-time job. Shit, some of them even older than that, having to work a full-time job just to keep a roof over their head, man. Yeah, retired and still gotta work. Can't make ends meet. That's only a devil would do something like that, man. You know, the scriptures talk about the sin of his youth, talking about Esau. Esau, he's the one that has the run of the whole land, right? And even in the time of his youth, he was wicked as all hell, but he still gets to rest easy in the end of because it's his kingdom. Esau still resting easy, man. Sometimes I'll be driving, going to work, where I'm going in the morning, see Jake, oh, that's Jake, just, you know, sitting at the bus stop and you can tell they're beat, man. Like beat fingers to the bone, man. You know? Go ahead.
And it says, set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong. And it says, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes, for the Lord have bought devices and done that which he has spake against the inhabitants of Babylon.
So everything's ready, man. The Lord, you know, in Matthew the 25th chapter, wasn't the cry made that the bridegroom cometh? Go ye out to meet him? The time is right, man. So we just gotta endure this shit for a little while longer. It ain't gonna be too much longer, man. We're gonna endure for a little while longer. It's gonna be a beautiful thing, because when the smallest of things that happen that we've been prophesying about, it's gonna be a major event. Okay? This whole thing about these how can I put it? Well, I'll say this, in my town, they had opened up a hotel. They got all these, what do they call them? Migrants? What do they call them? Refugees? They call them refugees. So they opened up a hotel. And they closed it down to normal people, but now they're ushering all kinds of buses, and now the mayor was like, we know nothing about this. I believe this is going to be one of the catalysts that's going to get this thing started with the uprising of the civil unrest in this country, man.
Was it the Northern Kingdom?
Yeah.
Were the people from the Northern Kingdom?
Yeah.
Yeah, because one place it was, they set aside for veterans, and they kicked all the veterans out and put the migrants in there. But we were saying they doing that just to basically rouse up these patriots. The only reason why you would do something like that is to get Esau mad and to cause civil unrest.
You got governors and mayors in certain cities that are being hoodwinked, if you will, because these things are happening in their cities right underneath their nose, and they know nothing about it. You see, so this is going to be one of those things that's going to keep this thing really popping. The civil war that's going to take place, the racial war that's going to take place in this country, man. It's imminent. It's right at the door, man. Go ahead.
Verse 13, it says, O thou that dwellest upon many waters and abundant in treasures, it says, thy end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. And it says, the Lord of hosts has sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars. It says, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. And he had made the earth by his power, and he had established the world by his wisdom. It has stretched out the heavens by his understanding.
You mean Zechariah 2:8?
It says,
the point is, the Lord is about to bring this bitch to an end. The end is near for this place, man. Go ahead.
Zechariah chapter 2 verse 8. For thus says the Lord of hosts, after the glory have he sent me unto the nation, we spoil you. For he that touches you touches the apple of his eye.
That's right. Okay, and we have been set up through the spirit of Yahweh Shai, not just brothers here, but brothers all over the world, to prophesy the downfall. Why? Because we are occupied in prophecy. We're not out there on the highways and byways fighting like fucking niggas in the street. You know, we're supposed to be the example. We're supposed to be the lead men of the nation, man, if you will. You got niggas, cats acting just like a bunch of thugs, man, out there fucking jamming and ramming and smashing each other, man. You know, the Lord has set us up, and now it's clear, man. It's clear that the Lord is busting all these. Anyway, you brothers see what's going on. You brothers see. Anybody got anything else with rapid? What's Bundle Walk? I know he always does. You good?
He ain't even paying attention. Good.
I can't answer that brother say it's cool. All right, but listen, we're going to give a quick, all praises to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Ukakadash.
Double honors and the Apostle Great Millstone that rule well. Shalom to you both from the highways and byways. We're going to keep it simple, man. Just, you brothers, keep pushing that plow. Keep praying to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, and pray without ceasing, man. Because the time that is coming upon us, man, we're going to need all the prayers, sent up to the Lord. Because the Lord said the devil going to have no fucking mercy, man. He's going to come down having great wrath. And that starts right across the board for everybody. You may not say the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. You are Israelite. You may not even believe in this thing of ours, but you're an Israelite. So you best believe your ass has been numbered, man. You're in the crosshairs. Every one of you Israelites out there, you don't have to profess yourself an Israelite. You could be an African American, a Native American, whatever you want to do. But just know that you're an Israelite and you're in the crosshairs. So with that, we're going to say Shalom.
Shalom.